Do I have a live stream or do I not have a live stream? Not sure. There's nobody in chat. I guess we'll find out. Maybe I'm doing a live stream or maybe I'm talking to myself. I suppose we'll find out at the end. Oh, there's someone on YouTube. We'll find out in Twitch works soon enough. Let's get the multimeter and the power supply on the screen. Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to be working on a MacBook that appears to have a problem with its turning on. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with this MacBook and make it work again. I'm going to take the bottom off of the MacBook so that we can get started, and I'll show you all how to make this work. Maybe we can all learn something from the fixing of a MacBook. This is an A1502 model MacBook. It's not the newest MacBook, but that's fine. It's still capable of Macking. Getting there, Alex, getting there. Broke one of my damn New Year's resolutions already. To lead a lower stress life. You know what I found is that it's actually... It's easy to obey a New Year's resolution. It's easy to obey the things that you want to do if you do so at the expense of everything else. This is not live, Alan Redmond. It's only going to a website that specializes in live streaming that doesn't allow me to upload pre-recorded video. So it's most certainly pre-recorded, of course. Okay. Hello, Copaz. So the first thing we're going to do on this MacBook is admire the fact that the person who purchased this MacBook looks like they spent quite a bit on their SSD. Let's take a look over here. Look at that. It's going to show up soon. You'll see. Eventually. There we go. So this is a 1 terabyte SSD. You can tell because it's physically bigger than the smaller SSDs. I'm going to unplug the battery, because having the battery plugged in is not going to tell us how much amperage the board is using. It's going to tell us how much amperage the board and the battery are using, because the board charges the battery. And in order to do a proper diagnosis, I like to see how much power is being used solely by the board. It helps me to figure out what's wrong with the computer. So I am going to grab a MagSafe. And we're going to plug it in and see how many amps it uses. It looks like it goes up to 190 milliamps and then back down to 19. And it stays steady at 19. It doesn't move around much at all. And then it stays at 19. It's not jumping up and down at all. Now if we take a closer look, you'll notice that there is some sort of weird kind of colored dirt that has appeared on here. See how there's like a little bit of brown there? This area is a lighter color than the rest of this cover, which means that maybe some spill has gotten over there. So I'm curious if I unplug that section where you can see that a spill has gotten there, if the MacBook works again. Hoping it does. I have a better chance of making the MacBook work again if I use the proper screwdriver. I just grabbed a T6 when in fact what I was looking for was a T5. I'm going to unplug the trackpad, which has the ability to keep the machine from turning on. The trackpad can keep the machine from turning on. The trackpad can actually reset the SMC. The trackpad has the ability to make the computer have no backlight if SMC lid, which goes to the trackpad, is held low. In many other computers, you may simply think the trackpad is a pointing device, but in a MacBook, it is a single point of failure that can fuck up the entirety of the computer. Think different. Now we're going to see if we have a different result when I plug it in. Move to Toronto, get away from New York. I don't know about Canada. I don't know. I've seen the housing prices in Canada, and I don't think that you're far off from the path that we're on at the moment for lots of different parts. So it looks like it's still taking 18 milliamps. So that was not the case. We're going to unplug the rest of the computer and see what goes on here. I'm going to unplug the right I/O board, which has the ability to short PP5V and PP3V3 to ground. And that doesn't do it. But that's also because I didn't unplug the power cable. I only unplugged the data cable. But I knew that. I was just making sure you were paying attention. We're going to try that again. And as you can see, it's still stuck at 18 to 19 milliamps, indicating that there's most likely a board level problem. Now granted, it could be a keyboard issue. I didn't unplug the keyboard, but again, just making sure that you were paying attention. We plug it in over here, and now it goes up to 220 milliamps, but still turns off immediately. The webcam is usually not a suspect to short the machine to ground. It's not going to short the power rails. What it does is it typically, when the webcam fails, it shorts some of the data lines to ground, which causes the machine to run low. So this machine has sensors that tell what the amperage being pulled or the temperature is of different parts of the computer. And if it's running too hot or taking too much power, it will slow down the computer and clock it down, in which case it'll be incredibly slow, and you'll also hear your fan spin at full speed. Now, the camera has an ambient light sensor in it, and it's going to tell how light the surroundings are or how dark the surroundings are so that it knows how to set your keyboard and your screen's backlight. If you're in a dark room, your keyboard will become bright. If you're in a well-lit room or outside in the sun, your keyboard backlight will turn off. Now, this data line for the webcam's ambient light sensor shares it with many other sensors on the computer, which means if your webcam goes bad, the rest of your computer becomes unusable. Again, think different. Now, we're going to continue going through the machine. We're very close to being able to take the board out of the computer. We've got about 2 or 3 screws left to go. We got a screw over there. I lied. We have 4 screws left to go. Screw over here. A screw over here. And a screw over there. I did lie. I said it was over here, but it was actually over there. Can't believe any damn word I say now, can you? So now we're going to take the board out of the case. Always go slow with it in case you accidentally forgot a cable. It's easy to forget a cable plugged in, like your keyboard backlight cable or something, and rip it. Off topic, but where refurbishers sell refurbished LCDs? I don't know. I don't know, because firstly, I don't know what kind of LCDs you're talking about in particular. Are you talking about people who refurbish retina display assemblies? Are you talking about iPhone screens? But even if I knew particularly what you were, the specific question you were asking, I don't think I have an answer either way. I don't buy refurbished iPhone screens much anymore. I don't buy a lot of iPhone screens anymore, honestly, because I don't do a lot of them. But in addition to that, I also don't really I don't focus much on screen repair anymore. That used to be an area of great profit, and it's just not worth the aggravation anymore. So I'm sorry, I don't have a great answer for you. I appreciate the explanation, says Mario. Well, thank you very much, Mario. I appreciate your appreciation of my appreciate. So whatever. All right. Now, if you take a look, there's a couple of crumbs in the board, but no big deal. And we're just going to confirm that we have the exact same reaction now when we plug this in. So we plug it in, and now it doesn't even seem like it's giving us that initial 200 milliamp run up. It's only giving us a run up to 61 milliamps before settling back down at 18, which means that when nothing is plugged in, it is reacting significantly different. Unfortunately, that difference in reaction is not enough to actually blame another part of the computer for the fact that it's not working or anything attached. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this board and see if we can figure out what the problem is with it. And the first, I saw a little bit of food over there that I just knocked off. Let's see if that makes any difference. Yeah, it just went up to 112 milliamps after I moved the food. Okay. So I think that the food location had more to do with it than anything else. So we're going to measure and go through our rails as we usually do. I might open Flex Board View depending on how much I feel like becoming aggravated today at Flex Board View's random occurring bugs. So let's open up Flex Board View, the amazing Paul Daniels software that trolls me on a daily basis during every board repair, and get started fixing this board. I'm going to open up the schematic for an 820-4924. If you couldn't see that number over there, you weren't paying attention, because the number for the board is right over there. Look at how easily visible that is. See, if you couldn't see that, then you, I don't know, buy a better monitor or something, because it's clearly right there in front of you. I get that question all the time. Where's the number? How did you see the number? It's right there. It's right there. So I'm going to open up the PDF with this. Let's do that. It told me that Flex Board View just told me that the PDF could not be found, even though the PDF was in the same folder as the Board View file. Typical Paul Daniels level trolling over there. I'm going to get it on the screen so that we can take a look. And away we go. Flex Board View should be on the screen momentarily. And there we have it. Now on this machine, the list of power rails is typically on page 60 or so, I believe. Around page 60. Somewhere over here. Maybe? Here we go. Page 68. Now we're going to have a bunch of different rails here. So over here, we have PP Bus G3 Hot. These are G3 Hot rails. So they have the prefix and the suffix. The prefix and the suffix. The prefix is the name of the rail. The suffix is when that rail is actually present. So G3 Hot rails are present all the time. PP Bus G3 Hot is the battery. That's present all the time. S5 rails are very similar to G3 Hot rails. They're also present all the time. S4 rails are present when the computer is hibernating. Hibernation is when you tell the computer to hibernate, and then it'll take whatever you're doing in RAM and save it to disk, so that when you open it again, all your programs open up the way that they were before, but things like the RAM are not powered, CPU and screen are not powered, and so on and so forth. S3 rails, that's suspend. That's when you tell your computer to go to sleep. So when you close the lid and it saves everything to RAM. It'd be in the pre-SSD days when there would be a considerable difference between sleep and hibernation, because when you put your computer to sleep, it would be saving to RAM, which could usually transfer things in hundreds of megabytes or gigabytes per second, as opposed to your hard disk, which would transfer stuff at 40 or 30 megabytes a second. Now with SSDs, especially on these machines that use PCI Express SSDs, when you hibernate, hibernation is going to be occurring to a disk that can do 2 gigabytes per second. So there's not much of a difference between sleep and hibernate anymore. But I digress. And then SO is going to be when the computer is actually on. So your SO rails are going to be for things like audio, or for, let's say, your screen. So LCD backlight is going to be an SO rail. Let's say the CPU over here, that's an SO rail, because that's when the computer is on and working. Christopher Kelly, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm sure people here would love it, but I've eaten quite a bit at the moment, and I'm likely no more food for me today. It does, Adisa. You're just not paying attention. Now, going back here, now that you know what the rails are, we are going to now measure for them and see if they are present. So the first rail that I always typically measure is PP342_G3hot. PP342_G3hot is going to power my system management controller, which is required for me to get a green light and to get the startup process going. As you can see here, I have a light in the charger, which tells me PP342_G3hot is present. The charger, which plugs in right here, as you can see, this is the charger, and this is going to plug in. Thank you very much, Chattel. I highly appreciate that. Thank you. The charger is a little adapter sense line, And that, through U7000, is going to speak to the SMC. The SMC is powered by PP3v42. Without PP3v42, this would not turn on. So that we know is present. The next rail that's in the G3 hot list is PPBus G3 hot. Let's see if PPBus G3 hot is present on this board. So I'm going to make sure that the multimeter software is on the screen. Turn my multimeter over to voltage, and I'm going to measure where Paul Daniels' software tells me to measure. Why low audio? Because you had, I don't know, maybe you didn't turn your thing up. Yeah, maybe. Perhaps that you haven't turned your audio up. I don't know. I want to fix a board. I don't want to fuck with audio right now. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Audio seems